This video is a follow-on from the previous 21 videos dealing with price in the precious metals markets. If you haven't seen those videos, I'd recommend you doing so before watching this one. In this video, I want to make a few points about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or KSA. Let's just go back in time a few decades to set the scene. The ending of the gold standard in 1971 meant that the dollar had become an unbacked fiat currency. It therefore only enjoyed its preeminent position in the world because of the world reserve status, which didn't provide enough support on its own for what our overlords had planned. The US administration knew that the dollar would have a very limited lifespan if this situation wasn't addressed. They realised that if they could link the dollar to oil, then they could give that extra vital bit of support to the dollar and also add value. In 1973, they approached King Faisal from the Saudi royal family who ran the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and did the deal. Henry Kissinger was the point man in this operation. So, from that time on, KSA, along with other OPEC member countries, agreed to use dollars for their oil trades. This was called the petrodollar system. The system is more complicated than that, there are more aspects to it, but this is all we need to know for the purposes of this video. That system has been in operation for 50 years, but it's coming to an end. As I said in the previous video, it's likely that in time more and more nations will cut themselves free from the bonds with the US and join the BRICS nations. One of those nations is Saudi Arabia. Indeed, this is actually already happening. In December 2022, President Xi of China went to KSA on an official state visit. Obviously, I wasn't in any of the meetings that they had, but we can make an educated guess as to what was discussed. It stands to reason that they were discussing oil and geopolitics. Basically, a strategic alliance has been forged between KSA and China. China is a huge importer of oil, and the Middle East as a region is the largest supplier of crude oil and natural gas to China, and Saudi Arabia is the biggest of those suppliers. So, KSA, for their part, is securing its revenue from oil for the foreseeable future. What we are witnessing is a move on a scale similar to that which occurred in 1973. President Xi of China went there to seal the deal. So, the petrodollar system, which was set up in 1973, is being abandoned, and the petro-yuan will probably take its place to some extent. The switch towards the yuan and away from the dollar is only going to be detrimental to the dollar. A new system is being set up, run by China and Russia. The upshot of all this is the BRICS nations and other countries like Saudi Arabia, Argentina and Iran are trying to create an alternative monetary system to the US-run system. Anyway, in some ways then, KSA can be considered as being the kingmaker. They are taking the crown away from the US, the king dollar, and giving it to China and also to Russia. I should also say that whilst KSA is powerful in geopolitical terms because it holds massive oil reserves, it's not powerful in terms of its military. So Russia and China are probably going to offer some form of protection to KSA, but without the bullying tactics employed by the Western powers. I guess that in 1973, Kissinger made the Saudis a deal they couldn't refuse, to speak in mafiosi language. I dare say that the US troops based in the kingdom will therefore have to leave the kingdom at some point. The changing of the guards might be an interesting event to watch. It could be an orderly exit or a shambolic affair like the recent US withdrawal from Afghanistan or like Vietnam in 1975. I should also say that presently Saudi Arabia, along with other countries, peg their currencies to the dollar, but that too will change. The world is de-dollarizing. As I said in the previous video, the dollar as we know it today, by which I mean the Federal Reserve System dollar, is dying. It's in its death throes. Its days are definitely numbered. A new Treasury-issued dollar might emerge once the Fed dollar dies, but that depends on a number of conditions being met, as well as, I dare say, a number of as yet unknown factors which could affect outcomes. So I can only say might emerge rather than will emerge. In any event, the death of the Fed dollar will mean that America will not only lose its hegemony status, but also the people in America will no longer benefit from the dollar's high status. They will lose their special privileges. They will suffer a significant loss in living standards as a result. Wise up and rise up.